I think it's been all right with our top 25s, especially in the top 10. I think we have done an excellent job throughout the season, even though there was about 4 weeks there of reshuffling of somewhat, but that's kind of just what kind of cracks down. And what we usually do with our top 25s is kind of predict the future. And we've been doing an excellent job with that, as we've had BYU in the top 10 for I don't know how many weeks now. They were at number 11 also for about 4 weeks. This past week, though, 11 through 15 all had losing games, which kind of moved up 16 through 24 somewhat. But here is the new and improved top 25 going in again to the week 11 weekend. And a bit of the same again in the top spots, but in those 20-ish era spots, we will begin with number 25 technically. But before actually we start with that, we got to talk about who's in and who's out. The teams that are out: Tennessee, who loses to Oklahoma at home 33-27. The Volunteers have dropped out of the top 25 for the first time here in 2025. Navy, who has been in that number 25 spot for a good amount of weeks, they lose to North Texas, who we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. They go down to Denton and lose to the Mean Green 31-17. Tulane, they were, I believe, the highest ranked team that drops out of the top 25. They lose 48-26 in San Antonio to the Road Runners. And then the final team that drops out that just got in, Houston, they lose 45-35 at home to West Virginia. The teams in: North Texas, Utah, Oklahoma, and USC. And again, back to number 25, North Texas. Nice big win against the Midshipmen, handing Navy their first L of the season. And yeah, that's why we have liked them quite a bit. We knew this was kind of the weekend, week 10 is what I'm saying, of kind of determining if they were going to be in our top 25. And we did an undefeated team. Very impressive. On top of that, also, like we have been echoing for I don't know how many weeks now, the Mean Green are the number one offense in points per game. And I believe that's been holding up for a number of weeks now, but that's nothing new. They have been top 10 in the country the last couple of seasons. We move into number 24 as North Texas goes into a bye, but a team that just had a bye, South Florida, number 24 again. They just get to stick there. They dropped down with obviously that loss to Memphis a couple weeks ago. We'll see how it cracks on for them, because after this weekend with the UTSA game, I believe they have a Navy. But they will be playing the Roadrunners at home there in Tampa. Minus 13 in favor for the Bulls. That was what the line was being set yesterday. It has moved up to minus 14. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, that is going to be a Thursday game. Definitely want to take a look at that, as the Roadrunners been testing some teams as of late. A team that got completely tested and lost, Miami, 26-20. They're in Dallas to SMU. They dropped from 13 to 23. They don't fall out of the top 25, as 2 of their losses are somewhat quality. SMU, they were just outside of our top 25. And then you have Louisville there, whose only one loss is to Virginia. Number 22, USC, back in the top 25. They dropped out when they had the loss to Notre Dame. I don't know how many weeks ago that was now. They go up to Nebraska and beat the Cornhuskers 21-17. Getting out alive there. They will be playing a Northwestern. That one is another weeknight game on Friday. Georgia Tech, another team that falls, but not too far. 48-36 loss to NC State. They were nowhere near our top 10 technically. I think they were sitting at number 2 for a while. Or not number 2, 12. Gotta add another 10 more points to that. They will have a bye this upcoming weekend. Number 20, Oklahoma, who joined the pack once again. They had a nice road win and get some revenge against Tennessee and make it technically 2 in a row for their last 2 trips to Neyland Stadium, as they beat the Volunteers in Knoxville 33-27, and they will also have a bye. 19 is Cincinnati. They had a blowout loss to Utah, getting their second L of the season. Got to go all the way back to week 1 when they lost to Nebraska on a neutral site field. Against the Utes, it was 45-14. Bit of a disappointment. I thought they could have put up a better fight, but I think it was just a mismatch, and Utah kind of playing for their lives somewhat. The Bearcats will have a bye going into week 11. Utah, the team that we just talked about beating Cincinnati, well, they jump up to number 18. They are the highest climbers from this past weekend. Last week, technically, they dropped out of the top 25. And then this week, they impressed us enough as they beat number 11 Cincinnati. That's where we had the Bearcats. 45-14 once again. The Utes, again, have to run the table somewhat and hope and pray that Texas Tech and BYU drop multiple games before the end of the season for them to have a chance to get into the Big 12 championship game. The Utes will have a bye going into week 11. That's 4 teams in a row with byes. Interesting. We move now to number 17, Iowa. Yeah, not a lot of people have been ranking Iowa whatsoever. It's kind of surprising, to be quite honest with you. We have had some decent stock into the Hawkeyes. Their only loss this season is to Iowa State in that in-state rivalry for the Cyhawk Trophy. Since then, they have been pretty solid. Actually, no, they lost to Indiana, if I'm not... Okay, they have 2 losses. My bad. Regardless, they come out of the weekend with a bye and are hosting number 5 Oregon, who we're going to be talking about there in the top 10. Number 16 is Louisville. They had a nice win on the road in Blacksburg, Virginia, 28-16 against Virginia Tech. They will be hosting the Cal Berkeley Bears there in Kentucky. Number 15, Memphis, as they resurge back up, benefit with a lot of teams losing that were in front of them. 38-14 victory over Rice there in Houston. They have a massive matchup against Tulane, who just dropped out of the top 25, so they may return with a win over the Tigers there. Number 14, we have Virginia, who is now the highest ranking ACC program. How embarrassing for the Atlantic Coast Conference. You have all that money into those top end programs, and they cannot do any better than the Cavaliers out of Charlottesville, who won and beat Cal on the road 31-21. They will have an interesting fight against Wake Forest at home once again. Missouri, they just come off of a bye. They benefit as well from other teams losing ahead of them. I think in the AP, they're at number 18. Okay, that's interesting. Regardless, we have them at 13. Their only 2 losses are to Alabama and Vanderbilt, who's right in front of them. There's kind of an interesting tier list for the Southeastern Conference. And they're just kind of outside that great team tier and just good. Obviously, there's elite, and then there's a great team tier. I will see, as they'll have an interesting matchup at home in Columbia versus Texas A&M, who's number 3. And if they can pull off that big win, that definitely helps out their resume and opportunity to probably be one of those outside teams to get into the playoff, as they already have 2 losses in conference. But those are the only 2 losses. they have suffered so far this season. Number 12, we got Vanderbilt. And Vandy fans, you have to be pretty happy with the results so far this season. Your only two losses are to Texas and Alabama. You beaten LSU, you beaten Missouri. You beat some other teams that I wasn't picking you for. And yeah, they're also in decent position. Obviously, a lot of football to be played. We'll look at our playoff brackets here after we talk about the top 25, and yeah, they are just outside that top 12, unfortunately, to get into the playoff. Anywho, they lose to number 16 Texas, 34-31. They have a home game against Auburn this upcoming weekend, who just fired their head coach. So that must be a pretty nice game there for the Commodores. Number 11, Notre Dame, who are outside of the top 25 for a little bit there. Kind of came back in after the win against USC and have kind of been playing, somewhat perfect football since their opening two losses. They won this past weekend 25-10 to Boston College there in Chestnut Hill. Very disappointing with that result. Should have been a hell of a lot more. The Eagles suck. And that was maybe, I guess, a weekend where they got the best of the Fighting Irish, but Boston College, pretty garbage. And Notre Dame should be doing better there. They host Navy this upcoming weekend in South Bend, and they're massive favorites once again in that game there. Number 10, as we crack into the top 10, Texas, who have been surging. I know they lost to Florida not too long ago, but have been recovering. Wins over Oklahoma, a recent win over Vanderbilt. Those are their quality wins this season. So if you're like, who has Texas beaten? Well, there you go. Played close against Ohio State, who's number 2 on the list. And yeah, they have also been doing all right for themselves. Got out alive against Kentucky and Mississippi State. I don't know what the magic they captured this past weekend to be able to score 34 points, because they have not been efficient, at least to start off games. And I have to go back and watch that highlight between them and the Commodores. Probably do that tomorrow when I have time. But yeah, for some reason, they made some changes that seem to be working. They beat the number 9 team from week 10, would be the Commodores, 34-31. And they have a well-deserved bye for the Longhorns there for week 11. Number 9, Texas Tech, who won 43-20 there in Manhattan, Kansas against the Wildcats. And they have the biggest matchup going into the weekend, and probably the biggest game for the Big 12 so far this season, at home in Lubbock, Texas against BYU, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. Number 8 is Ole Miss. Well, they didn't miss this past weekend. They beat South Carolina 30-14. I believe that game was at home. They have a very interesting matchup, as it's the only game this upcoming weekend where an FBS team plays an FCS team. That FCS team is the Citadel. 7, BYU. We just talked about them taking on number 9. The Cougars out of Provo had a nice bye this past weekend. They are again on the road in Tortilla Town to take on the Red Raiders for, again, the biggest matchup in the conference so far. Number 6, Georgia. They beat Florida, barely beat Florida, 20-24. They're in Jacksonville for the largest cocktail party in the world, and they will be back on the road technically to take on a Mississippi State there in Starkville. Oregon is up next. Another team that had a bye in the top 10. They have a massive matchup as well. One of the few top 25 games going on this weekend. This one is in Iowa City against the Hawkeyes, who are at number 17. So let's see if Oregon can get a ranked win this season. I know, again, Iowa, for some reason, not ranked. in the top 25, but do the AP pollers know what they're doing in the first place? Number 4, we got Alabama, another team with the bye. Bama plays a game in Tuscaloosa at home against LSU for one of the most disappointing, I think, games in this series for a decent amount of time because of how bad LSU has been. Number 3, and a third team in a row with coming off of a bye, and that's Texas A&M. They are on the road this upcoming weekend against Missouri. Number 13, Missouri. They're in Columbia. The top 2, who have been the same for I don't know how many weeks, or at least since Indiana beat Oregon. Ohio State. The Buckeyes beat Penn State 38-14 at home. They are on the road in Lafayette, Indiana this upcoming weekend to play Purdue. And number 1, wrapping out the top 25, is Indiana, who will be playing Penn State there in Happy Valley, which is going to be an interesting matchup, as I will talk about all these games occurring in a little bit. But before we have to do that,